You know how Al Franken did the amendment that went into the defense authorization bill that said, hey, listen, if a woman is sexually assaulted in her workplace and the company that's hired her is a defense contractor, well, we don't want that defense contractor to be able to push her into arbitration where they win a great majority of the cases because they pay the arbitrators in a great majority of the cases. What we want her to be able to do is to go to civil court, U.S. court, to ask for a redress for what's happened to her. Now, of course, the famous case was Jamie Lee Jones, who was gang raped by KBR employees. She was a KBR employee, and when she went to go take that up in the courts here in the U.S., KBR, former subsidiary of Halliburton, said, oh, no, you don't. You signed a contract saying that these kind of cases go to arbitration where we win 99% of the time. And she eventually won that fight because the courts ruled, hey, you know what, gang rape was not part of her employment contract, so you can't force her into arbitration. But what Al Franken wanted to do was very simple. Hey, can we kind of end that loophole so that companies are not allowed to do this to women anymore, so they don't have to go through the whole court process just to get into court, right? So if they're sexually assaulted or they face sexual discrimination, okay, and the original intent is on assault, okay, so this is very serious. Obviously, in her case, it was the most extreme form of sexual assault, that it does not go to arbitration. Now, the Republicans argued that, hey, it is a little too broad and it could involve other forms of sexual discrimination, and that we want to still allow, okay? So, I mean, come on, we got to push those into arbitration. If you don't, their argument was literally, they're on the record as saying this, that you'll have tens of thousands of cases of where defense contractors have sexually discriminated against women, and instead of being able to cover that up through arbitration, they'd have to go into United States civil court. Well, cry me a river. Even if you believe they were right, that the bill was too broad and covered sexual discrimination as well as sexual assault, that's not such a bad thing, okay? I mean, basically they're saying, oh, come on, can't we let the defense contractors in effect do sexual discrimination and then cover it up with their arbitration process? No, I'm not cool with that. So now when they vote against it, a lot of the people on the left have been saying, hey, wait a minute. This seems to be a pro-rape vote that you're giving. Now, we covered that story a lot here on the show, and I tried to explain the nuance of it a little bit, and I said, you know, if the Democrats were going to demagogue this, they could run ads saying, hey, and you think Republicans would do this? You betcha they'd do this, in the words of Sarah Palin. Run ads saying, Senator so-and-so apparently is in favor of rape. And I said, that's not the case here, right? But it is a very questionable vote. It's bad politics and it's bad policy, okay? So, and it's pretty close to true. At least half of it is to protect people who have committed rape and don't want to go to civil court, okay, or companies that have done so, right? So now we get to the why you grabbing me part. Apparently the Republicans are very mad that the left wing has done this, quote unquote, and that Al Franken has encouraged it by bringing up this bill. Well, I don't get it. He's trying to protect the rights of women. What else was he supposed to do? Was he not supposed to introduce the bill because it might be bad politics for you guys? Because you'd vote against it? Well, if it was going to be bad politics, why didn't you vote for it? Okay? Or if you think it was such a great vote, why don't you defend it? No. They say Al Franken has been very, in the words of Carrie Prejean, inappropriate. Al, you're being inappropriate. Okay, now I got the quotes. Get a load of this. Senator John Cornyn, Republican of Texas, trying to tap into the natural sympathy that we have for victims of this rape and use that as a justification to frankly misrepresent and embarrass his colleagues. I don't think it's a very constructive thing. How can you embarrass us with our own votes? How could you do that to us? Why are you grabbing me? All right, he continues. I think it's going to make a lot of senators leery and start looking at the things he's doing earlier on because I don't think it got appropriate attention ahead of time. In other words, we might not work with Senator Franken from now on. Really? When were you working with him? I mean, look, we had Senator Isaacson work with him on a bill to get dogs to blind veterans, seeing eye dogs. Okay. Oh, whoa, are you going to stop that kind of cooperation? You're going to make sure that blind veterans don't get dogs because you don't like Senator Franken? You weren't working with him anyway. You voted against him. That's what the whole problem is. What a nonsense threat. All right, they continue. here is Senator John Thune with my favorite quote. He's in Republican leadership in the Senate. I don't know what his motivation was for taking this on, but I would hope that we won't see a lot of Daily Kos-inspired amendments in the future coming from him. I guess Daily Kos wants to prevent sexual assault and sexual discrimination at work, and I would hope that no Democrat would want to do that because that embarrasses Republicans. He continues, I think hopefully he'll settle down and do kind of the serious work of legislating that's important to Minnesota. Protecting women like that, not serious, okay? That's Daily Kos kind of stuff. And you can you tell how much they think they blew it on this one and how scared they are of this and its implications? Why you keep screaming, right? So here he goes, keep going. Senator Kit Bond of Missouri. From what I know of Franken, this is the kind of tactics that I, quote, expected. Senator Tom Coburn of Oklahoma, very similar sentiment. It was partisan, and he knew it. That's exactly what I'd expect. Now, wait a minute. You're telling me that you mind partisan tactics? The last story we did was on Senator Judd Gregg, Republican, doing an obstruction manual to all the Republicans telling how you can kill the health care reform bill with partisan tactics. Now the Republicans are complaining about partisan tactics? You're kidding, right? You got to be joking, because you can't be serious. One last one for you. Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. I think it would be helpful for Senator Franken to come forward and say, I'm not suggesting that anybody who votes for my amendment is indifferent to crimes against women or anybody else. Because, of course, that's what the Republicans would do. They would make your case for you, right? Because they're very polite. They always follow the rules. What rules? Why would you make the opposite case? He put together an amendment he believes in. Why would he make your case? And in case that isn't even true, he continues. What's going on politically with the amendment Senator Franken can't control, but I think it would be helpful for him personally to just let the rest of us know that's the view of others and not him. They're asking Franken to apologize for his amendment, which, by the way, got 10 Republican votes, which is nearly unheard of, right? Because it was so obviously true and so obviously sensible, right? Apologize for it, and then state the Republican case against it in favor of the Republicans, and please stop doing such political things and get on to serious business. I mean, this is why the Republican Party is a joke. Anyone who follows this stuff, I mean, it's as if they're not aware of their own hypocrisies. And they just come out and say things that are unbelievable. I mean, imagine Democrats coming out and saying, we'd like the Republicans to make our case for us. They've been very impolite by opposing us politically. You know what that is? That is partisan. Trying to pass bills they're in favor of and we're against. Well, very, very impolite indeed. We might not work with them anymore. Unreal, man. That's the story of the day.